Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Relationships. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself wondering why some relationships just don't work out, despite your best intentions? You might think you're doing everything right, being attentive, supportive, and caring, but something still feels off. It's frustrating, isn't it? The truth is, even the smartest men can make subtle mistakes when it comes to navigating relationships with women. And often, these mistakes stem not from a lack of effort, but from misunderstanding key dynamics. Today, we're diving into a crucial topic: 9 things smart men should never do with women. These aren't just random tips, they're grounded in Stoic philosophy and emotional intelligence, designed to help you build stronger, healthier connections while staying true to yourself. Before we jump into the list, let's set the stage with a core principle from Stoicism. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. Relationships can be complex and unpredictable, but your actions, thoughts, and responses are entirely within your control. By understanding these 9 mistakes and avoiding them, you'll not only improve your relationships, but also cultivate self-awareness and confidence in every interaction. So, why is this topic so important? Because relationships are a cornerstone of human connection, and for men navigating today's fast-paced world, the pressure to get it right can feel overwhelming. Whether it's handling emotions, setting boundaries, or understanding communication dynamics, small missteps can snowball into bigger issues if left unchecked. But don't worry, folks, by the end of this video, you'll have the tools and insights you need to avoid these pitfalls and approach your relationships with clarity and purpose. Here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. We'll start by exploring the dangers of being overly self-sufficient, a trait that's often celebrated but can lead to unintended isolation in relationships. Then, we'll talk about emotional control and why managing your reactions is a sign of strength, not suppression. We'll also dive into intentional communication, acceptance of absence, and mindfulness in interaction, key elements that form the foundation of meaningful connections. But that's not all. We'll discuss consistency in communication, the importance of purposeful living, and the value of moderation in emotions. And finally, we'll wrap up with 2 game-changing insights: resilience in adversity and consistency in character. Each of these points offers a unique perspective on what it means to be emotionally intelligent and grounded in relationships. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on why these principles matter. Relationships aren't just about finding the right person, they're about being the right person. And being the right person means understanding not only what to do, but also what not to do. It's about cultivating habits that align with your values while avoiding behaviors that undermine trust, respect, and connection. Let me ask you this. Have you ever made a mistake in a relationship and realized it only after it was too late? Maybe you reacted emotionally to a situation, or perhaps you failed to communicate your intentions clearly. These moments are tough, but they're also opportunities for growth. By identifying and addressing these mistakes, you empower yourself to build better, more fulfilling relationships moving forward. As we explore each of these 9 things, I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences and think about how these principles apply to your life. And remember, folks, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Even the smartest, most self-aware men are constantly learning and evolving. The goal here isn't to avoid mistakes altogether, but to approach relationships with the wisdom and intention to handle them when they arise. If this sounds like something you're ready to dive into, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. By joining our Stoic Relationships community, You'll gain access to insights and strategies that help you navigate relationships with confidence and emotional intelligence. Together, we'll explore the intersection of Stoic philosophy and modern relationships, creating a foundation for growth and connection. All right, folks, ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Overvaluing self-sufficiency. Let's dive into the first mistake: overvaluing self-sufficiency. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. Self-sufficiency is an admirable trait. Being independent, reliable, and able to handle your own challenges is essential for personal growth. But when taken to the extreme, self-sufficiency can become a barrier in relationships, especially with women. Let me ask you this. Have you ever hesitated to ask for help or share your struggles because you didn't want to appear weak? It's a mindset many men carry, believing they must shoulder every burden alone to be seen as strong. But here's the truth. Relationships thrive on connection, and connection requires vulnerability. If you're constantly projecting an "I've got this" attitude, you're unintentionally shutting people out. Why is this a mistake? Because relationships aren't just about sharing successes, they're about sharing struggles too. When you refuse to open up or lean on your partner, you're denying them the opportunity to support you, to feel needed, and to build deeper emotional intimacy. Over time, this can create a sense of distance and make the relationship feel one-sided. From a Stoic perspective, this is a lesson in balance. As Seneca wisely said, no man can live a happy life if he turns everything to himself. While independence is valuable, true strength lies in knowing when to rely on others. Recognizing this allows you to approach relationships with a mindset that prioritizes mutual support and shared growth. So, how does overvaluing self-sufficiency show up in real life? Imagine you're facing a tough challenge at work. Instead of talking to your partner about your stress, you internalize it, thinking you'll handle it on your own. Meanwhile, your partner senses something's wrong, but feels shut out because you're not communicating. This lack of openness can lead to frustration and misunderstandings, even though your intentions were good. Another scenario is when you avoid asking for help with small things, like planning a trip or managing household tasks, because you want to prove you can do it all. While this might seem harmless, it sends the message that you don't value your partner's contributions or perspective, which can unintentionally hurt the relationship. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by acknowledging that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. Opening up about your challenges, fears, or uncertainties doesn't make you less capable. It makes you human. Share your thoughts and feelings with your partner and invite their input on decisions or problems you're facing. This creates a sense of partnership and mutual respect, strengthening your bond. But let me remind you, folks, balance is key. There's a difference between being open and becoming overly reliant. The goal is to create a space where both you and your partner feel valued, supported, and respected. Now, let me ask you, have you ever hesitated to share your struggles because you thought it would make you look weak? Drop your thoughts in the comments with this affirmation: I value connection over perfection. Number 2. Suppressing emotions. Let's move on to the second mistake: suppressing emotions. Many men are taught from a young age to stay strong and keep their feelings in check. While emotional control is valuable, suppressing your emotions entirely can lead to significant issues in relationships. Women often value emotional openness as it fosters trust and deepens connection. Let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself bottling up feelings of frustration, sadness, or even joy, thinking it's better to stay quiet? It might feel like you're avoiding conflict or maintaining composure, but in reality, Suppressing emotions creates distance. Over time, it can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, and even emotional burnout. Why is this a mistake? Because relationships are built on authenticity. When you suppress your emotions, you're not just hiding your feelings, you're hiding a part of yourself. This lack of openness can make your partner feel disconnected, as if they don't truly know what's going on in your mind or heart. It also prevents healthy communication, which is essential for resolving conflicts and building intimacy. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't about letting emotions control you, but rather acknowledging them in a constructive way. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Recognizing and expressing your emotions responsibly demonstrates maturity and emotional intelligence, traits that strengthen relationships rather than weaken them. So, how does suppressing emotions show up in real life? Imagine you're upset about something your partner said or did, but instead of addressing it, you push the feelings aside, telling yourself, "It's not a big deal." While this might seem like the easier option in the moment, the unresolved feelings can resurface later, often in ways that are more damaging, like passive-aggressive behavior or an unexpected outburst. Another example is when you hide positive emotions, such as excitement or appreciation, because you don't want to appear overly sentimental. For instance, you might feel proud of your partner's achievements, but downplay your enthusiasm, thinking it's unnecessary to express it. This can leave your partner feeling unappreciated or undervalued, even if that's not your intention. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by practicing emotional awareness. Take a moment to identify what you're feeling and why. Once you've acknowledged your emotions, communicate them openly but calmly. For example, if you're feeling hurt by something your partner said, you could say, "When you said specific thing, it made me feel specific emotion. Can we talk about it?" This approach encourages healthy dialogue and demonstrates respect for both yourself and your partner. But folks, let me remind you, expressing emotions isn't about venting or overwhelming your partner with every thought or feeling. It's about finding a balance, being honest and vulnerable while remaining considerate and composed. This balance is key to fostering understanding and maintaining harmony in your relationship. Now, let me ask you, have you ever avoided expressing your feelings? And how did it impact your relationship? Share your experience in the comments below with this affirmation: "I embrace emotions as strength." Number 3. Over-communicating without purpose. Now, let's dive into the third mistake: over-communicating without purpose. Communication is the foundation of any strong relationship, but there's a fine line between being open and overwhelming the other person with constant messages, updates, or unnecessary chatter. Smart men sometimes fall into the trap of thinking that constant communication equals connection. But in reality, it can have the opposite effect. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sent multiple messages, checked in repeatedly, or shared every little detail of your day, only to feel the conversation growing colder? While your intentions might be good, showing interest, staying connected, or being transparent, over-communicating can come across as needy, overwhelming, or even intrusive. Why is this a mistake? Because it doesn't allow space for natural interaction. Healthy communication thrives on balance and quality, not quantity. When every interaction becomes an update or a check-in, the relationship can start to feel transactional rather than meaningful. Over time, this pattern can lead to frustration, reduced excitement, and even emotional fatigue for both parties. From a Stoic perspective, over-communication often stems from a lack of confidence or fear of uncertainty. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Learning to embrace moments of silence or absence in communication demonstrates self-assurance and trust in the relationship. It allows both individuals to breathe, reflect, and return to the conversation with renewed energy and interest. So, how does over-communicating show up in real life? Imagine you've just started dating someone, and every morning you send a long text sharing your plans for the day, followed by frequent messages checking in. While this might seem thoughtful, it can quickly feel excessive. The other person may start to feel obligated to respond, or may even pull back to create distance. Another example is constantly revisiting the same topic in conversations. For instance, you might repeatedly ask how your partner feels about a decision or situation, even after they've already shared their thoughts. This behavior can make them feel like their input isn't trusted or valued, which can create tension. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Focus on intentional communication. Before reaching out, ask yourself, is this message necessary or meaningful? Prioritize quality over quantity by engaging in conversations that add value, whether it's sharing something genuinely interesting, offering support, or discussing important topics. Embrace moments of silence or downtime as an opportunity for both of you to recharge and reflect. But folks, let me remind you, effective communication isn't about limiting interaction. It's about making it purposeful. When you focus on meaningful exchanges, you create a dynamic where both parties feel heard, valued, and energized. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt the urge to over-communicate? And how did it affect your relationship? Share your experience in the comments below with this affirmation: I prioritize quality over quantity. Number 4. Failing to respect personal space. Let's move to the fourth mistake: failing to respect personal space. Relationships thrive on connection, but they also require balance. While spending time together is essential, it's equally important to respect each other's need for personal space. Failing to do so can lead to feelings of suffocation or resentment, even in the strongest relationships. Let me ask you this: have you ever felt the urge to always be around someone, checking in constantly or trying to involve yourself in every aspect of their life? While your intentions may be genuine, showing care and interest, this behavior can come across as controlling or intrusive. Over time, it may push the other person away rather than bringing them closer. Why is this a mistake? Because healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, including respect for individuality. Everyone needs time to recharge, reflect, and engage in their own interests. When you fail to allow for personal space, it not only puts pressure on the relationship, but also prevents both of you from growing independently, a key aspect of long-term compatibility. From a Stoic perspective, respecting personal space is a practice in discipline and self-control. As Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. This doesn't mean being with someone every moment. It means cultivating a balance where both individuals can thrive as separate entities while still nurturing the relationship. So, how does failing to respect personal space show up in real life? Imagine you're in a new relationship and you constantly text or call, expecting immediate responses every time. Or perhaps you get upset when your partner chooses to spend time with friends or focus on a hobby without you. These behaviors, while stemming from a place of care, can quickly make the other person feel trapped or overwhelmed. Another example is insisting on being involved in every decision or activity. For instance, you might feel the need to approve every plan your partner makes, even if it's unrelated to you. This can come across as controlling and erode trust over time. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by acknowledging the value of independence within a relationship. Encourage your partner to pursue their own interests. Spend time with friends, or simply enjoy quiet moments alone. Use this time to focus on your own growth, whether it's learning a new skill, practicing a hobby, or reflecting on your personal goals. This not only strengthens your sense of self, but also makes your time together more meaningful. But folks, let me remind you, respecting personal space doesn't mean creating emotional distance. It's about finding the balance between connection and individuality. When you respect each other's boundaries, you build a foundation of trust, understanding, and mutual respect. Now, let me ask you, have you ever struggled to balance connection and personal space in a relationship? Share your story in the comments below with this affirmation: I value balance in connection. Stay tuned, folks, because in the next section, we'll uncover how inconsistency in behavior can quietly damage your relationships. You won't want to miss it. Number 5. Being inconsistent in actions. All right. Folks, let's talk about the 5th mistake: being inconsistent in actions. Consistency is one of the most underrated qualities in relationships. It's not just about keeping promises. It's about aligning your words with your actions, creating a sense of reliability and trust. When inconsistency creeps in, it can create doubt, frustration, and even insecurity in your partner. Let me ask you this. Have you ever said one thing but done another, even unintentionally? Maybe you promised to prioritize quality time together, but ended up canceling plans last minute. Or perhaps you expressed commitment, but acted in ways that seemed detached or distracted. These inconsistencies might seem minor in the moment, but over time, they can chip away at the foundation of a relationship. Why is this a mistake? Because relationships are built on trust, and trust requires dependability. Inconsistency sends mixed signals, leaving your partner questioning your intentions or feelings. It creates a sense of unpredictability that can make them feel uneasy or undervalued. No matter how strong your connection may be, repeated inconsistency can erode it. From a Stoic perspective, being consistent is a practice of integrity and self-discipline. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." By aligning your actions with your values, you demonstrate strength, honesty, and respect, not just for your partner, but for yourself. So, how does inconsistency manifest in real life? Imagine you've set boundaries about work-life balance, telling your partner that evenings are reserved for quality time. But then, you repeatedly stay late at work or check your phone during dinner. These moments might seem small, but they send a message that your actions don't match your words. Another example is being inconsistent in emotional support. One day, you're attentive and affectionate. The next, you're distant or dismissive. This unpredictability can leave your partner feeling confused and uncertain about where they stand in your life. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by being intentional with your commitments. If you say you'll do something, follow through. And if circumstances change, communicate openly about why and how you plan to make it right. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being dependable and genuine. But folks, let me remind you, consistency doesn't mean rigidity. Life happens, and flexibility is important. The key is to ensure that your overall actions align with your values and intentions. When you prioritize consistency, you build trust and create a relationship that feels secure and grounded. Now, let me ask you, have you ever experienced the impact of inconsistency in a relationship, either from yourself or your partner? Share your thoughts in the comments below with this affirmation: I value integrity in my actions. And hey, if you're finding these insights helpful, Don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Relationships and turn on notifications. By subscribing, you're joining a community of like-minded individuals dedicated to building healthier, stronger connections. Let's continue learning and growing together. Stay tuned, folks, because in the next section, we'll discuss how ignoring emotional cues can lead to missed opportunities for deeper connection. You don't want to miss it. Number 6. Ignoring emotional cues. Let's move on to the 6th mistake: ignoring emotional cues. In relationships, communication isn't just about words. Often, the most important messages are conveyed through body language, tone, and subtle expressions of emotion. When you overlook these emotional cues, you miss valuable opportunities to connect on a deeper level and address underlying concerns. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sensed that something was bothering your partner, but chose not to ask because you didn't want to overreact? Or perhaps you dismissed their emotions as unimportant, thinking they'd eventually get over it. While these reactions might seem harmless in the moment, they can lead to feelings of neglect and disconnection over time. Why is this a mistake? Because emotional cues are the foundation of empathy and understanding in relationships. Ignoring them not only makes your partner feel unseen or unheard, but it also creates a gap in communication that can grow into larger issues. Being attuned to these cues is a way of saying, "I care enough to notice what you're not saying." From a Stoic perspective, this is a practice in mindfulness and awareness. As Seneca said, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. By slowing down and paying attention to the emotions being expressed, whether directly or subtly, you cultivate a deeper understanding of your partner and prevent unnecessary conflict. So, how does ignoring emotional cues manifest in real life? Imagine your partner is unusually quiet during dinner. Instead of asking if something is wrong, you assume they're just tired. Later, you find out they were upset about something you said earlier. But because you didn't address it, the issue lingered and grew into resentment. Another example is missing signs of stress or sadness. Perhaps your partner's tone is softer than usual, or they seem distracted. Instead of offering support or a listening ear, you continue with your routine, leaving them to feel isolated. These small moments of missed connection can accumulate, creating emotional distance over time. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by being present in your interactions. Pay attention to non-verbal cues like facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. If you notice something seems off, don't be afraid to ask gently, "Hey, is everything okay?" This simple question can open the door to meaningful dialogue and show that you're attentive and supportive. But folks, let me remind you, being attuned to emotional cues isn't about fixing your partner's feelings. It's about creating a space where they feel safe to express themselves. Sometimes, all they need is someone to listen and validate their emotions, not solve their problems. Now, let me ask you, have you ever overlooked emotional cues in a relationship? And what did you learn from the experience? Share your thoughts in the comments below with this affirmation: I value emotional awareness. Stay tuned, folks, because in the next section, we'll uncover how chasing perfection can unintentionally sabotage your relationships. You won't want to miss it. Number 7, chasing perfection, all right. Folks, let's talk about the 7th mistake, chasing perfection. In relationships, the desire to be the perfect partner or find the perfect person can lead to unrealistic expectations and unnecessary pressure. While striving for excellence is a great quality, holding yourself or your partner to impossible standards often does more harm than good. Let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself overanalyzing your actions, wondering if you're good enough? Or perhaps you've been overly critical of your partner, expecting them to meet every standard you've set. These behaviors, though unintentional, can create tension and erode the natural joy and connection in your relationship. Why is this a mistake? Because relationships are about connection, not perfection. No one is flawless, and expecting perfection, whether from yourself or your partner, sets you both up for disappointment. Chasing perfection often shifts the focus from appreciating the present moment to constantly seeking something better, which can prevent meaningful growth and understanding. From a Stoic perspective, accepting imperfection is a cornerstone of wisdom. As Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Perfection lies beyond anyone's control, but growth and acceptance are always within reach." Recognizing this allows you to embrace your own humanity and foster a relationship built on authenticity rather than unattainable ideals. So, how does chasing perfection show up in real life? Imagine you're constantly trying to present yourself as the perfect partner, always saying the right thing, doing the right thing, and avoiding mistakes at all costs. While this might seem admirable, it often comes across as inauthentic or even exhausting. Your partner may feel like they're connecting with an idealized version of you, not the real you. On the flip side, you might place unrealistic expectations on your partner, expecting them to always understand your needs, never make mistakes, or match your exact preferences. Over time, this can create frustration and resentment, as no one can live up to such high standards. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by embracing imperfection in yourself and your partner. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and celebrate the small moments of growth and connection. Instead of striving to be flawless, aim to be genuine and present. Share your thoughts, feelings, and mistakes openly. It's through vulnerability that trust and intimacy grow. But folks, let me remind you, accepting imperfection doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It's about finding a balance between striving for improvement and embracing the realities of human nature. When you let go of the need for perfection, you create space for understanding, patience, and deeper connection. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt the pressure to be perfect in a relationship? Drop your story in the comments below with this affirmation: I choose authenticity over perfection. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we'll explore how overgiving can unintentionally backfire in relationships. You won't want to miss it. Number 8. Overgiving without boundaries. Let's move to the 8th mistake: overgiving without boundaries. Generosity is a beautiful quality, but when giving is done excessively or without clear boundaries, it can lead to unintended consequences. While your intention might be to show love and care, overgiving can sometimes create imbalance and even lead to feelings of being taken for granted. Let me ask you this: have you ever gone out of your way to do everything for your partner, only to feel underappreciated or drained? While giving can strengthen a relationship, doing so at the expense of your own well-being or without reciprocity can create tension over time. Why is this a mistake? Because healthy relationships are about balance and mutual respect. Overgiving, especially when it's not met with appreciation or effort from your partner, can unintentionally set the tone for an unequal dynamic. It can also lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of self-identity as you pour everything into the relationship while neglecting your own needs. From a Stoic perspective, this is a practice in self-respect and moderation. As Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Overgiving without boundaries is neither right nor sustainable, and recognizing this allows you to focus on what truly matters, giving in ways that are thoughtful, balanced, and meaningful. So, how does overgiving show up in real life? Imagine you're always the one planning dates, buying gifts, or rearranging your schedule to accommodate your partner's needs. While these gestures are thoughtful, they can sometimes create a dynamic where your partner begins to expect these efforts without reciprocating. Over time, this imbalance can lead to frustration and feelings of being unappreciated. Another example is giving beyond your means, whether financially, emotionally, or physically. For instance, you might consistently spend money on elaborate gifts or experiences, even when it puts a strain on your budget, simply to impress or please your partner. This kind of overextending isn't sustainable and can cause long-term stress. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by setting clear boundaries for yourself. Ask yourself, am I giving because I want to, or because I feel obligated? Focus on quality over quantity. Small, meaningful gestures often carry more weight than grand, frequent displays. Additionally, pay attention to the balance in your relationship. Is your giving met with appreciation and effort, or is it taken for granted? If it's the latter, it's time to have an honest conversation with your partner about mutual effort and respect. But folks, let me remind you, giving is not the problem. Giving without boundaries is. When you approach generosity with thoughtfulness and balance, it strengthens your relationship while also preserving your own well-being. Now, let me ask you, have you ever found yourself giving too much in a relationship? Share your experience in the comments below with this affirmation. I give with balance and intention. Stay tuned, folks, because in the next section, we'll discuss how misunderstanding the importance of shared purpose can impact your relationship. You won't want to miss it. Number 9. Neglecting shared purpose. Let's talk about the 9th and final mistake, neglecting shared purpose. Relationships thrive when both partners feel connected by common values, goals, or aspirations. When this shared purpose is missing or overlooked, the relationship can start to feel directionless, leading to frustration and disconnection over time. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a relationship where it felt like you were heading in different directions? Maybe your goals or values didn't align, or perhaps you simply didn't discuss where the relationship was going. Neglecting shared purpose isn't always intentional. It's often a result of focusing too much on the present without considering the bigger picture. Why is this a mistake? Because shared purpose creates a foundation of unity and direction. It's what turns two individuals into a team, working together towards something greater than themselves. Without it, the relationship can lose its depth and meaning, leaving both partners feeling unfulfilled. From a Stoic perspective, shared purpose is about aligning actions with values. As Marcus Aurelius said, people exist for the sake of one another. Teach them or bear with them. In the context of relationships, this means fostering mutual understanding and working together toward a common vision that reflects both partners' values and aspirations. So, how does neglecting shared purpose manifest in real life? Imagine you're in a long-term relationship, but neither of you has discussed your future together. While things might seem fine in the short term, over time, the lack of direction can lead to uncertainty and dissatisfaction. Or perhaps you and your partner have conflicting goals. One of you prioritizes career advancement, while the other values a simpler, family-focused lifestyle. Without addressing these differences, resentment can build. Another example is focusing too much on surface-level compatibility, like shared hobbies or interests. without delving into deeper values. While having fun together is important, it's the alignment of your core beliefs and long-term goals that creates lasting connection and stability. So, how can you avoid this mistake? Start by having honest conversations about your values, goals, and vision for the future. Ask questions like, what do we both want out of this relationship? How can we support each other's individual aspirations while building something meaningful together? These discussions might feel daunting at first, but they're essential for creating clarity and alignment. But folks, let me remind you, shared purpose doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. It's about finding common ground and working through differences with mutual respect and understanding. When you nurture this sense of purpose, your relationship becomes a partnership built on trust and collaboration. Now, let me ask you, have you ever experienced the impact of neglecting shared purpose in a relationship? Share your story in the comments below with this affirmation: I build relationships with purpose. All right, folks, that wraps up the 9 things smart men should never do with women. Remember, these insights aren't about being perfect. They're about building relationships with intention, authenticity, and respect. By avoiding these mistakes, you're not just improving your connections with others, you're growing into the best version of yourself. Now, let me ask you this. Which of these points resonated with you the most? Drop your answer in the comments below with this affirmation: I grow through learning. Your experiences might inspire someone else in our community. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from Stoic Relationships. Together, we'll continue exploring the art of connection and self-growth. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Stay strong, stay mindful, and remember, the key to thriving relationships starts with understanding yourself. I'll see you in the next video.